live, and we're meeting people who can't stop and won't stop. In the face of adversity, they don't surrender, but fight harder. Like our next guest, Sarah Gad. The 36-year-old attorney is dedicating her life to defending those who can't defend themselves. But just a decade ago, it was Sarah who was in need of a lawyer. After being badly injured in a car accident, she found herself addicted to opioids, committing multiple nonviolent crimes, and in and out of jail. Take a look at her story.
I was in my third year of medical school, just passed my boards. I was really excited about the future, and then was driving home one day, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed, not knowing what had just happened. I ended up with a traumatic brain injury and broken both ankles. I was prescribed a lot of opioids, and as my recovery wore on, I found myself reaching for my pill bottles more so to numb the emotional pain of what had just happened. And so I literally felt like I needed food, water, and opioids to survive. I started forwarding prescriptions, and it didn't take very long before I got caught. Each prescription that I forged ended up coming with like 5 or 6 different felony charges. Once I realized that there was really no way out of becoming a convicted felon, I just gave up. I just relapsed and kept relapsing and recidivating until I was visiting Chicago in 2013, and I ended up getting picked up. I was put in maximum security. I was booked into jail with an addiction and released with an addiction, plus PTSD, a traumatic brain injury, a broken nose, and a forged stab wound in my thigh. At one point, I was beaten so badly that the jail staff had to give me opioids for my injuries. There were points where I thought I was never going to get out of this nightmare. But at the same time, there was this voice deep inside my head telling me, I have to keep going. I can't just quit. I have to fight my way back.
Wow. And Sarah joins us now. Thank you so much. You know, going back to the addiction, one of the things that you have said, I read an essay that you wrote in Marie Claire about addiction doesn't discriminate. And you said, though I understood addiction to be a disease, I naively thought that my medical education and training somehow immunized me against it. Addiction, I now know, does not discriminate based on education, profession, or anything else. I think that is such a powerful reminder because people fall into these stereotypes of who can become addicted to something. Any of us can.
Yeah.
And yours came with that car accident.
Yes.
You go on to describe, which I don't want to keep unpacking that pain for you, but I think people need perspective, especially when we're going to tell them where you are now in your life. You said to the Washington Post you were taking 1,000 milligrams of oxycodone a day. To put that in perspective, adults are typically prescribed around 5 to 15 milligrams every 6 hours. So you were at the bottom.
Yeah.
And never imagine your life there because you're studying. You want to do something with your life. You want diplomas on the wall, not a mugshot on the wall.
Right.
What was the reset moment for you?
The reset moment for me was when I walked out of jail in July of 2015 and relapsed and I overdosed. And I woke up in the hospital going through excruciating withdrawal. And there's this addiction medicine fellow who stopped into my room and said, there's this new medication called Suboxone that we're using for opioid use disorder. Do you want to try it? And it, when I was discharged from the hospital, I didn't have cravings. I didn't have physical withdrawal symptoms. And I was like, why didn't my doctors just prescribe me this instead of cutting me off when they realized I had a chemical dependency issue?
And this set you on a reset of your life. And in the early days of your recovery, you actually took a job with attorney Kathleen Zellner. Yeah. Many people know her from the Netflix series Making a Murderer. And you started to see there was something more in your life. You end up applying to law school, and this is the part that I love. You applied for University of Chicago, a convicted felon. University of Chicago, by the way, difficult school to get in, prestigious school to get in. And you wrote on your application, this brings me to tears. You said, I just need a second chance. And if I'm given that, I am certain I won't need a third.
Oh, I meant it. I meant it.
I mean, and then there you are. Yes. You were accepted.
With an ankle monitor.
With an ankle. Sarah's like, you see me on this beautiful campus with this great, collegiate sweatshirt with an ankle bracelet on. I mean, talk about surreal. We don't see the bottom there, but you saw it every day as a reminder of where you had been and where you were going.
Yes. Yes.
What made you, how did you find the can't stop, won't stop? Because it could have gone back to the spiral easily.
Yeah, I think, it was perfect timing because when I was prescribed Suboxone and was able to actually stay off of opioids, Kathleen Zellner said, if you can stay the course, you can come to my law practice and work on medical malpractice cases and apply the medical knowledge that you have that you never got to put to use. And so I knew that was going to be realistically the only chance I was gonna get as a convicted felon to prove, hey, I can still contribute to society in a meaningful way.
Wow.
And
you've done that. And coming up, you heard Sarah say she wanted to contribute to society in a meaningful way. Well, her firsthand experience behind the bars helped her free a young man who faced decades in prison. Their connection, their story after the break. Welcome back. We're in conversation with Sarah Gad, a 36-year-old attorney who, through grit and determination, overcame a powerful opioid addiction and criminal past to become an advocate for vulnerable and marginalized individuals. And this summer, she made headlines. Sarah, this summer you made headlines. You won your first murder case, helping to free a young man named Benjamin Richardson, whose case was dismissed because of a lack of evidence.
he was truly innocent.
And he's like, when you find out you're not going to prison for life for a murder you did not commit. 20, as I said, and he said it was one of the happiest days of his life. What did it mean for you? Because he said it was you. He trusted you. He trusted that you were going to do the work, that you weren't going to stop, that you weren't going to give up, and that you were going to make sure that he ended up with his family.
Yeah. I was introduced to Mr. Richardson's case by his mother, who she said that she'd reached out to several attorneys and said, hey, we've only been able to collect this much money to hire a private attorney. And I was the only one who replied. I looked at the case and I was like, I don't see any evidence against him. Like, what is this? And the prosecutors remembered me because I was a defendant in the courtroom like 10 years earlier. And they weren't really taking me seriously, but I knew he was innocent. And so I was just, I went to great lengths to prove that he was innocent. And it was just the most incredible moment of my life, being able to tell him, you're going home.
Oh my gosh. I know. So the actual day you helped free Benjamin Richardson, you bumped into a man outside the courtroom who a decade before had presided over your 2014 drug case, the Chief Judge Todrick Barnett. So you run into the judge.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we actually reached out to the judge and he wanted to send you a message. Take a look.
Sarah, this is Judge Barnett from Minnesota. Congratulations. I am so happy about your success, especially knowing that now that you're a lawyer and from your past experiences with the court, you're able to help other people. This is just great for us and also for the people that you represent. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was crazy running into him. I was just, I was sitting down doing media interviews about the case, and he walks by and knew somebody who was seated with me. He was like, what's going on here? They're like, this young woman just won her first murder case. And I was like, Judge Barnett, you don't remember me? Like,
You were like, I was here all the time.
yeah, I was a revolving door offender in your courtroom between 2012 and 2015. And he was shocked. As you can see by that picture.
He's like, what?
But I mean, it was just an incredible full circle
Yeah.
moment for me. And I mean, it's the thing about being an attorney for me is remembering the kind of advocacy I wish I had when
Yeah.
I was going through my lowest point.
Yeah.
And I try to be that advocate to my clients to make sure that they understand every step of the process.
Yeah.
And, that there's an open line of communication. I know that what you're going through affects not just you, but everybody around you. So I just keep that line of communication open and make sure that they know that they have someone who's going to
You
be
are so
fighting for them.
inspiring. You're so inspiring. Sarah, thank you so much. Keep it going. Keep it going.